Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of Raw Politics. A while ago, I did a video on who between Mount Kenya and William Ruto betrayed the other. Of course, at that particular time, the emotions were high. It was during the time when Rigathi Gachagua was being impeached, and you can imagine the reactions. But I insisted that based on the facts that were available, Ruto was relying on the people who voted him into power to stick with him and understand him as he implemented what they supported him to implement. Not to turn against him and start opposing the same policies they voted him to implement. But then somebody asked me, if you were to be asked, when is it or what is it that made Mount Kenya, specifically the Kikuyu community, to part ways with Ruto? Because from the look of things, ladies and gentlemen, unless we are not being realistic, majority of the people of Mount Kenya, especially the Kikuyus, are not very so much into supporting Ruto. In fact, the leading critics of President Ruto, even on the social media platforms, currently are from Mount Kenya, in areas that are dominated by the Kikuyus. So the question is, when or what actually led to them parting ways, considering these are the people who had supported Ruto overwhelmingly against all odds? If that is something you are interested in, stay tuned. And if you're watching for the first time, take a moment, subscribe to this channel so that you don't miss subsequent videos. Like I said, I did a video explaining that, in my opinion, Mount Kenya betrayed Ruto by leaving him at the time he needed them the most, and turning into his critics as opposed to people who would help him as he was making the toughest decisions to change our country. So that is debatable. But what is not debatable is what led to this particular separation. And it has something to do with what Ruto did and what Mount Kenya people believe in. I want to tell you that immediately you bring Raila Odinga on board, you lose the support of the people of Mount Kenya, especially the Kikuyus. Let me justify my claim. In 2008, after the post-election violence, Kibaki agreed to work with Raila. If you saw where there were celebrations, the celebrations were in areas that were dominated by Luos. Especially, there were a lot of celebrations in Kisumu and some parts of Nairobi, areas like Kibra. But there was not so much celebration in places like Muranga and Kiambu, etc. Why? Because according to the people of Mount Kenya, bringing Raila on board was a betrayal, considering that Raila Odinga had declared himself, at least in their opinion, as the enemy of the people, or the enemy of the region. So how did this make Mount Kenya people part ways with Kibaki? Because remember, my claim that I'm justifying is that immediately you bring Raila on board, you lose Mount Kenya. I want you to picture this. When Kibaki was going to retire, he openly supported Musalia Mudavadi to take over from him. He did not even support Raila Odinga to take over from him. He supported Musalia Mudavadi. You remember where the name Madimoni came from? When Uhuru Kenyatta was saying that he had been told to leave it for Mudavadi. Who had told him? It was the Kibaki and Moise of that time. So Kibaki was not very comfortable with Uhuru Kenyatta, and this had everything to do with the claim that leadership will never pass River Chania, which I think is a claim that were made by the people of Kiambu. And so Kibaki, coming from Nyeri and having achieved this, it was not in his, he didn't want to return power back to Kiambu. And so he went for somebody whom he believed was a good leader, Musalia Mudavadi, and they endorsed Musalia Mudavadi and told Uhuru Kenyatta that now that you are having cases at ICC, please endorse Musalia Mudavadi. Actually, were it not from the support from some MPs, etc., Uhuru Kenyatta was likely to endorse Mudavadi, because this was coming from Kibaki and Moi, and these are people that Uhuru Kenyatta had come to actually respect. For Moi, he didn't want William Ruto, because a stronger William Ruto meant that Gideon Moi was going to play a second fiddle. And this is something that Moi was not so much keen on. Remember, Moi wanted a situation where if he's gone, his son was to take over the leadership of Kalenjin, and Ruto was so strong. So they wanted a case where both Uhuru and Ruto were not in the picture, and that is why Moi and Kibaki supported Mudavadi. How did Mount Kenya vote? Mount Kenya voted for Uhuru Kenyatta to the last man. Why? Because they were rebelling against the decision of Mwai Kibaki bringing in Raila on board in 2008. Okay. If that is not convincing enough, let us come to when Uhuru Kenyatta brought in Raila Odinga in 2018. Immediately, Uhuru Kenyatta had a handshake with Raila Odinga. He lost Mount Kenya. Uhuru tried everything to get them back. He couldn't. Mount Kenya decided that even though Uhuru Kenyatta was their son, they would stick with William Ruto to punish Uhuru Kenyatta. If you've learned something, it's not as if they hate Uhuru Kenyatta as a person or love Ruto. No. No. From the look of things, it is like their son made a mistake bringing on Raila on board, and so they punished Uhuru Kenyatta for the crime of bringing Raila on board. Ruto had promised that he will not have any dialogue with Raila. Raila will not have a chance to swear himself in, and Raila will not have a chance to ngoa rally and other things. Okay, this is something that Mount Kenya people related with so well. So in March, when there was that first March of 2023, when there was that first demonstrations by Azimio, the ones where they were saying open the server and other things, Ruto, after analyzing what that was all about, decided to give dialogue a chance. And this really pissed off Mount Kenya people, because according to them, Ruto was supposed to crush Raila and destroy him once for all. Giving dialogue a chance was like trying to appease Raila and trying to promote his bad behavior, in their opinion. I was also actually of the same opinion, so I don't want to lie here. I was also of the same opinion that there was no need of talking with Raila Odinga. He should have been crushed. But that is why I am not president and Ruto is, because as a president, you have the fate of 50 million Kenyans, not just the moods and the wills of those who supported you. So you don't have the luxury of jeopardizing the fate of 50 million Kenyans to appease those who voted for you or to massage their ego. Ruto asked himself simple questions. Raila Odinga is having demonstrations in Nairobi, Kisumu, and Migori. Okay? In Nairobi, this is making it very difficult for traders to do business, especially in the CBD. In Kisumu, this is making it almost impossible for goods to go to Uganda, which is one of our leading trading partners. The demonstrations in Migori are making it difficult for goods to transit between Kenya and Tanzania. And so economically, these strategic demonstrations by Raila Odinga were meant to hurt the economy that was already ailing in ways that you've never seen, ladies and gentlemen. So Ruto had two choices here. Play hardball, say we will go use police to crush Raila supporters, find him somewhere, maybe shoot him, eliminate him, to prove a point. Or do we find a way out of this? We call it, you swallow your pride, you be the bigger man. because Raila had nothing to lose. And as Rigathi said then, Raila was being funded by Uhuru. As you know, Uhuru has unlimited resources. So funding these demos was not going to be a one-off. He could fund them forever. And people don't like chaotic environment. It doesn't foster growth for businesses especially. And businesses end up losing a lot. So Ruto had a choice. He had promised his support base that he will never entertain Raila. And to quote him, there is no way he was going to entertain and endorse political blackmail by Raila Odinga. But here he is faced by two realities. Raila Odinga has nothing to lose, and he intends to make it difficult for Ruto to deliver even one promise. And two, whatever it is that they are doing is hurting the economy in ways that it was going to be very difficult to recover. And another thing, ladies and gentlemen, even if you are to be so authoritarian, shooting and beating people who have been brainwashed over the years and people who are suicidal was not going to take this country forward. So Ruto bit the bullet, as he usually calls it. He made the hard decision. Actually, he involved Rigathi, and he told him that for the sake of the country, let us eat a humble pie on this. We made a promise that we were not going to entertain political blackmail, but whatever this political blackmail is doing to us in terms of our ability to deliver what we promised the voters, and also in terms of the ability to trade with our partners, is too much. So he said, let us have a dialogue. You remember the first statement, the first press national address the president gave around March 2023, when he said that there should be parliamentary dialogue. Parliamentarians from Azimio and those from Kenya Kwanza should sit down and see issues and see how to handle issues. That actually cooled the temperatures, and the demos went down. But this did not amuse Kikuyus at all. They didn't understand the predicament Ruto found himself in. And any explanation didn't work because, as I told you, you bring Raila on board, you lose them. And so from 2023 March, Kikuyus were just looking for an excuse to leave, something that would give them a cover to turn against Ruto, so that it is not seen as if they were just doing this because of their differences with Raila or dislike for Raila Odinga. And then Rigathi saw that opportunity. And it was like, okay, Kikuyus don't like me. They don't recognize me as their leader. This is the opportunity to be recognized. Now I will endear myself to them. I will be the one opposing Raila Odinga and praising Uhuru Kenyatta and saying Uhuru Kenyatta was right when he told us that this guy is wrong. And Rigathi, you know him, he did more than that. He even said that Ruto had planned very evil things against Mount Kenya people. And so this fed into an already agitated crowd that was looking for something to hang on as they left Ruto. Even during the Gen Z's demo, you would see people that you thought were so close to Ruto or were so pro-Ruto saying he's a one-term and calling him Zakayo and saying he must go. For me, I wasn't surprised. I can't say that I was surprised, because I learned that immediately the march happened, and then when June of 2023, when now we had the national dialogue, where Raila had now met Ruto at Mombasa with Rigathi, and Rigathi was openly against that dialogue. Remember, he was like, you're wasting your time. He would even tell the likes of Ichung'wa and Aaron Cheruiyot that you are wasting your time. You don't have what to do. That dialogue will not yield anything. And so he endeared himself to Kikuyus by opposing any arrangement that was like favorable to Raila Odinga. That was like justifying Raila Odinga. In any arrangement that was sanitizing Raila Odinga, bringing him back, reviving him instead of taking him to Bondo. Ladies and gentlemen, when the national dialogue happened, Kikuyus and the people of Mount Kenya now got the evidence they were looking for, that after all, Ruto has betrayed them by working with Raila Odinga. And so when the Gen Zs came, like I told you, even people that you thought were going to be sympathetic to Ruto were like, ni one term, aende. You see? Aende, that is a one-term president. That is, we want him gone. He's the worst president we've ever seen. And this was coming from people that you thought were so pro-Ruto. And it was just an excuse. That they were looking for an excuse, and now they found one. And majority of the Gen Zs, by the way, you saw, were just people from Githurai, parts of Kayole, parts of Umoja, and some of them picked from Central Province, and nothing else. And I'm not creating this. Both the DCI investigation proved that. But even if DCI did not do that, the Limuru gathering was openly. In that Limuru gathering, they openly said that we will call our vijana to Nairobi and we want them to come so that we get rid of this man. So it was just a community affair. And with a few people here and there paid across the country in some places to make it have a national outlook. That is how politics is done, so nothing bad, nothing out of the ordinary. Ladies and gentlemen, when the Gen Zs happened, it gave the morale. But then you see Raila Odinga decided to now openly come out to endorse William Ruto. And this killed the idea that Gen Z was a spontaneous thing, that it was national, because it was just a regional thing. And so it died, by the way. They could not find anything to hide behind. And even the young MPs who were being used, maybe some in Nandi, some in Embakasi East, who were being used to hire a few people to give this particular Gen Zs the spontaneous nature they were looking for, also were very exposed, so they could not continue. After exposing the NGOs that were using whatever they had gotten from Ford Foundation to fund vijana to the street, the Gen Z thing died. But then the impeachment of Rigathi came. And so Kikuyus now had a reason. You have persecuted one of our own. There is no reason to stand with you. And ladies and gentlemen, that is how Kikuyus parted way with Ruto. They parted ways with Ruto because Ruto brought in Raila Odinga. And Ruto is now suffering because Ruto is seen to have betrayed them by bringing or reviving Raila Odinga, who should have been dealt with. So if somebody asked you, when did Kikuyus part ways with Ruto, you can trace it to as early as 2023, around March, when there was that first call for dialogue. And then it got worse around June 2023, when now we had the national dialogue, where from all indications were like Raila and Ruto are now pursuing peace instead of antagonizing each other. And then when the Gen Zs came, and majority of them were actually Kikuyus, and some of them lost lives, this also added to the reasons why now they had to leave. You've had people saying he's killing Gen Zs, he's killing our young people. And so when Rigathi was also impeached, add all this, Kikuyus were like, we have had enough with this guy. It has nothing to do with Ruto's policies. I can tell you that. It has nothing to do with Ruto's policies. It is purely politics of bringing Raila on board. You lose Kikuyus. Because Ruto's policies, I can tell you, there is nothing that Ruto is implementing that he didn't explain in his manifesto. Remember, Ruto had a manifesto that was so detailed that the only criticism that it got was that it was too detailed for a manifesto. Meaning, Ruto did not leave room for guesswork. He told people, this is what I will do. And people voted for him to do that. And now he's doing it, and he's being called names. He's not being called names because these policies are wrong. No. He's being called names because these people have differed with him politically, not policy-wise. Okay? If you did not watch the video on who between Mount Kenya and William Ruto betrayed the other, I have linked it here. You can watch it. I hope you found this video useful. If you did, Let me know in the comment section, and also just drop a like and share this video with your friends if you can. I want to thank you for taking your time to watch this video. If you've not subscribed, please do so. And if you've already subscribed, I really thank you for staying tuned. Otherwise, let us meet in the next video.